Chapter 18. The Incident Before the Banquet. The Demon Lord's Banquet Ball Purges. The people who participated in the banquet were the current 9 Demon Lords, and the most prominent figure at the banquet was the one who had just transcended into the realm of Demon Lords. The participants were listed below: Demon Race, Dark Emperor, Lord of Darkness, Guide Crimson, Fairy Race, Pixie, Labyrinth, Fairy, Ramirez, Dragonoid Race, Tyrant of Destruction, Destroyer, Nilim Nava, Giant Race, Wrath of the Earth, Earthquake, Dargruel, Vampire, Queen of Evil Night, Queen of Nightmares, Ruminous Valentine, Fallen Angel Race, Sleeping Ruler, Dino, Winged Race, Harpy, Sky Queen, Frey, Undead Race, Marionette Master, Clayman, Former Human, Bland Demon, Leon Cromwell. The seating order around the round table was decided based on the order in which they become Demon Lords. There was one vacant seat, and the temporary seat was prepared at the lowest position. Guided by the maids, each Demon Lord would take their respective seat. At that silent hall in the middle of the room that separated from the outside world were 3 people. They were already seated on their own seat and were waiting for the arrival of the other Demon Lords. Those 3 were Guy, Leon, and Ruminus. Then some noisy people invaded the room, penetrating the silence. "Yahoo, you guys healthy?" A fairy flew quickly to her seat while saying those words. It was Ramirez. "Long time no see." The giant greeted everyone and sat down on his seat. It was Daggerville. "Yo, as usual, you people all seem rather gloomy." Calling and teasing the pretty girl with silver hair next to her seat, it was Dino. Naturally, there was no response, only an unpleasant glare. The one who followed after the 3 Demon Lords was the newcomer. The main actor of the banquet had arrived. The first 3 who were already on their seats concentrated their glares at Rimurus' arrival. One person looked interested, one person looked uninterested, one person looked with hatred on its eyes. However, the person under their gaze didn't greet anyone, and so he was guided to the temporary seat and sat down on it. With this, there were 3 remaining Demon Lords that had yet to arrive. The mood was oppressive as the Demon Lords waited for all members to be present. Their attendants were waiting at the back. For some reason, the 3 people who were standing behind Dino and Daggerwell looked like they had been beaten up badly, but no one mentioned anything about it. They seemed to want to say something but were completely ignored. Just before the appointed time for the banquet to begin, 3 Demon Lords entered simultaneously. The host of this banquet was Clayman, and including the 2 Demon Lords that entered with him, all members were present. At that moment, in front of the Demon Lords who were waiting for the opening statement of the Walpurgis banquet, a surprising incident happened. Clayman raised his fist and struck Milim. Walk quickly, you dimwit." To use such violent words towards Milim was a death sentence. Seeing this incident, everyone was awestruck. To the one named the Tyrant Milim, this countered all logical sense. Alas, that idiotic guy has done for. And yet, even after committing such a violent act towards Milim, Clayman didn't show any remorse. Milim wasn't resisting, and without any complaint, she just sat there on her seat. This situation could be considered very strange. The other Demon Lords couldn't believe that what had just occurred. Thus, though foreshadowing ill omen event to come, the Walpurgis banquet began. While Dino was sitting on his seat, he was thinking about the monster he had met earlier, a rather intriguing monster. Also, Dino sensed the comparable strength to his own emanating from him. He wasn't like the feeble Clayman. He had the true Demon Lord's ambition. How interesting. Holding the unique skill sloth, he was nearly finished with the braving Daggerville. He was a truly uncontrollable person who held an overwhelming power, so Dino has been avoiding having a serious battles against him. Just as the skill name suggests, containing the word sloth, the skill power was meant to deprave in nature. After his son, who will succeed his throne, the depraving will be completed. His sons had enough qualification to become a Demon Lord. After they receive enough experience, they will become one. Then Daggerwell would retire and it would become what Dino had planned before. Unique skill sloth. Power was to cause the depraved person to become his subordinate and at the same time deprive them from their abilities. With a powerful yet obedient pawn, he expects to obtain a great magic power. Well, for Dino, this was just a game for starving off his boredom. But even so, this magnificent game had been played for almost 300 years, and yet from Vildora's words he noticed the possibility of an even higher goal. Aspiration to improve himself has begun to bud, yet his opponent was someone that can't be reached by his own power. That thought really saddens him. Even so, he felt that it was amusing. And then, even if Dino himself didn't realize that amusing feeling he had caused a tiny effect on Sloth. But it was just a tiny influence. For an ability to reach perfection, it needs a very long time and a gigantic amount of energy. But that tiny influence starts to cause a transformation without being perceived by the possessor skill master belonging to Dino. The skill was quietly stored deep inside his heart. After a short duration of time had passed, Clayman entered. He wasn't someone who caught Dino's interest, but at that time Dino witnessed the surprising scene, the scene of Clayman striking Milim. Dino's eyes became wide open upon seeing the occurrence of that unbelievable sight. Milim, who was clearly in a higher position than Dino, was struck by the weakling Clayman. As the one who called all this Demon Lord, she considered to have an abnormal level of skill and seemingly infinite amount of magic power. The only person who could be considered as her equal was Guy, but that overpowering abnormality of an existence, Milim, was being hit and abused by the weakened Clayman. Dino experienced an emotion he thought to no longer exist within him, forcing its way out from the deepest recesses of his heart. This emotion was anger, or possibly even frustration. Thus, those emotions become the nourishment to further the evolution of the skill sloth, and that evolution before long accelerated and stimulated the evolution of his mind. Iri Kokoro, read as mind, spirit, heart, inner strength. From this, a certain power was acquired by Dino. While I was being guided to this meeting place, there were some who tried to pick a fight with me due to my frail appearance of a child. Do you know that this place is only for the strong? A small fry like you should just go home. They shot out around. They shot out round after round of threats. This reminds me of an old style pug to dye their hair blonde with face piercings here and there. They even come as a cliched set of three villains. These punks were here for a person that looked weak and tried to gang upon them to show off their strength. Even with their appearances, they were not weak. Their energy's quantity was considerably abundant. Maybe it even surpasses that of Benimuro or Sean. But Sean asked me with her eyes. I simply answered it with a glint nod. The next moment, the three people had become laughably beautiful. They were beaten up badly. Their bodies were completely black and blue. Without even taking out her cherished Odachi, named Hercules Edge, Sean, with her ridiculous strength, struck the trio. Even if the opponent has the same amount of energy, it had ended in a one-sided beatdown. I'm sorry, was that enough? Although she apologized to me, this was far beyond enough. But it's good that they allowed us to vent our stress. Maybe these punks were Daggerville sons. They came and approached us when they saw us. Maybe it was to warn us. I don't know reasoning behind it where, but after we had passed the gate, there were multiple paths and we became lost. And then we got involved with these three punks. Because we passed through a transfer gate to the underworld, this unpleasant incident occurred. Learn from this experience. Don't ever judge a book by its cover. After teaching them some lessons, we left them behind. About the trio, although I got caught up in the moment to lecture them about various things, but I am glad that it was us. If it was some other demon lords, a very sad thing may happen to them. Even if they could handle an opponent with similar level of magic power, they weren't able to judge and verify enemy that had overwhelming power and act preemptively. Sean also had Herculean strength that went easily unnoticed. Even though the trio was defeated like some small fry, but they could actually all be considered to have a power around that of a Shuddha Demon Lord class. So thus that makes Sean a Shuddha Demon Lord class. That's calm down. But really, that Sean, that moron, there was no way that she could ever be a Shuddha Demon Lord. I convinced myself with that and continued forward. In the back, I thought I heard something like Sensei, no, please, let me call you Shiso. Shisho. I'll pretend to never hear that. A colossal door appeared before us. Beyond it was the meeting place. When I entered, I was guided to my seat. I sat down and began to survey the surroundings. Dino and Daggerville already sat on their respective seat. I caught the sight of the now beaten-up trio standing behind them. As I expected, they were Daggerville's sons. Everyone just ignored them. As expected, this can't be a common thing. After all, this was the place where 100 high-ranked devils could easily be killed. There doesn't seem to be anyone who had problem with this turn of events. In this situation, I can only observe the other demon lords. The farthest was a man with bewitching red hair. If he was a woman, he'd undoubtedly be a beauty. I understand from a glance, this person was dangerous. When I tried to analyze him, I only obtained trivial information. He has the same wavelength of irregular energy quantity, just like that Diablo. In other words, his energy level was high, but the data shows that he was a novice that's not able to completely control his demonic aura. However, my eyes cannot be deceived. Or possibly, she may have deceived the analysis power of Wisdom Lord Raphael. This information was likely fake, to make the opponent see false information and misjudge his true power. This allows someone to grasp victory because a fight by having an opponent underestimate them. In my terms, it was to conceal power. In other words, it was for making it hard for an opponent to gauge your true power through suppressing your demonic aura. But this person's idea was to exploit the opponent's information analysis ability. Someone who's made afraid by this kind of information was not worthy to be considered as an opponent. Of course, someone who can perceive this as false information was out of the question. But the problem is even disregarding what was seen, and just by deducting his level, it was a Diablo's level of power. His true level of power can't be estimated. This person was obviously someone extraordinary, no doubt about it. I instinctively felt that this fellow was a demon lord named Guy, and on his left was Ramirez. He sat on the seat of honor. Was it because she's a senior? She seems happy as she was swinging her feet back and forth, just like a child. It might be better to leave her alone. Next to her was a vacant seat. Next to it was Dagruel. This large man, Osan, was an unbelievably high energy quantity. It seems to be 3 times that of Diablo. However, what was important was quality, not quantity. It's about how we can use energy in the most efficient manner possible. Even if we had the same class, the expertise we show in using each of our respective abilities can become a deciding factor. A little while ago, if I wasn't told to control my anger, I might unable to differentiate between an ally and an enemy. No, even if it can be controlled easily, I'm still worried. There were still a lot of mysterious monsters. Even if the road was smooth, it doesn't mean I shouldn't be afraid of rocks. So I must relax my guard. At my opposite besides Ramirez's neighbor, a beautiful girl with silver hair took her seat. Her skin gave off transparent feel, while her heterochromatic eyes glistened with a deep crimson and light sky blue. In every aspect, she was a perfect beauty. Behind her was a man who looked like a butler. He doesn't make any movement, just like a statue. He certainly was an expert butler, but with great etiquette. He might have the same idea as me, as he suppresses his demonic aura. His ability level can't be read. Like that, I was surprised that he was the subordinate. As for the beautiful girl, she leaked out enormous amount of demonic aura, but the girl's demonic aura had random change in quality and quantity, so it makes any reading pointless. So this was the demon lord glass. The glares that she sends at my direction were scary. Perhaps her glare passed by me and sticks towards Vildora behind me. This girl was unmistakably a vampire, a demon lord whose kingdom turned into ashes. She was an opponent you most definitely don't want to anger. The talk about my head hurts situation was about this girl. Some say that it was a blessing to die because of a pretty girl's path, but just as expected, I cannot see any blessings in that. I only pray that such condition will not happen to me because of someone else's mistake. And the one who tried to had a friendly talk with the girl was Dino, as expected, a completely KY person, Iri Kuki Yomenai, clearly someone who can create air or mood. This man was fearless, but he had enough power to back his attitude. He emitted a large amount of energy, but most likely he suppressed most of it. This one too, by using jamming, he concealed his true ability. If I tried to analyze him seriously, he would surely notice what a shrewd guy. And the one I'm most bothered by, the person who sat next to me at the lowest seat, Leon. At a glance, he was a beauty, with features that could have been granted by the gods. If I was my old self, I would say explode, or so I thought. Though he was formerly a human, his aura was impressive. He was fully clad with Demon Lord's dignity. In fact, his true power cannot be analyzed. That's interesting. Lord of Wisdom Raphael analysis can be said to have a weak point. That is, if it's also about an ability with equal power. This guy, there was no mistake, he also has an ultimate skill. And then at that moment, I noticed guys deliberately giving off false information. Was that a countermeasure against ultimate skills? In that case, it's very likely that guy was also possessor of an ultimate skill. Even for a demon lord, they wouldn't necessarily have ultimate skill. Bound to possess one was a mixture of that person's nature, luck, and conflict coincidence. But the ultimate skill's power levels vary from skill to skill. For that reason, from now on, I should tread carefully. Then about me, who was a professor of ultimate skills, a possessor of ultimate skills, it was already exposed to Guy. Although I don't have any concise information on my opponent, the opponent already has information about me. What a blunder. It already happened, so there was nothing that can be done. There was no use in worrying about what ability had leaked out. In the future, it was essential to imitate a counter plan like this, so I should be grateful for this experience. If I'm still alive after this, now I had understood about ultimate skill usage. Leon seems to be uninterested in me, however, I have something to say to you. Leon, Shiza-san had passed away. She entrusted me to deliver a punch free of charge, just for you, so let me hit you. I called out to Leon and gave him a straight ball. Iri, Japanese idiom, straight to the point. In response to my words, Leon opened his eyes, and I refused. But if it is an invitation to a fight, it's okay for you to come and punch me. However, I will specify the time. If you think this is a trap, it's okay if you don't come. While saying those words coldly, he closed his eyes once again, and with that, he doesn't seem to have any more interest directed towards me. His skill of evading the point was rather superb. I see, I will accept it. Please send an invitation. So I replied and stopped my voice. Although he looked annoyed, I saw a small nod from Leon. I think it's okay. With this, I was able to convey what Shizusan wanted. Although I may have to postpone this issue for later date, the most important problem was Clayman currently. While waiting for a while, Clayman and the final two demon lords came at last. Then I witnessed an unfathomable sight. Clayman hit Nilim. That Nilim inside me, my anger almost exploded. You don't ever think you can die in ease. I proclaimed the death of Clayman. No matter the reason, I will not forgive him. However, I must not rush, because the banquet has yet to begin. End of chapter 80.